Good morning, this is your Math Sensei, Mr. Spensei, and this is Unit 2, Day 2, Functions versus Non-Functions. So we're going to begin with a warm-up where we review graphing in the Cartesian plane. So the first thing it says is label the quadrants, and for labeling the quadrants, remember that follows the letter C. So this would be quadrant one, this is quadrant two, quadrant three, quadrant four, and we number them with Roman numerals. So here we go, quadrant one, then quadrant two, quadrant three, and quadrant four. The next thing it says is label the origin. Well, the origin occurs at 0, comma 0, and that is our origin. It's where the two number lines cross. And it didn't ask for this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. This is the y-axis. It's vertical. And this is the x-axis. And it's horizontal. All right. The next thing, plot the following points, -4, -3. Well, if I go to -4 and I drop down 1, 2, 3, I'll label this with a letter A. The next thing, -2. Oh, excuse me, I read that wrong. That is a mistake. That's -4, +3. So -4, +3. So this is letter A. Then we have -2, -7. So down to the left 2 and then down 7. And that's letter B. Letter C is +4 but -6. Letter C. And D is at +3 up 5. There we go. All right. Then it asks for P, Q, R, S, and T. List the order pairs. So P, remember it's always X. I should have labeled this X, then Y, X, then Y, X, then Y. So we went to -6 in the X direction and then -7. So -6, comma -7, that's our P. Q, we went to -6 and +3. So -6, +3. R, we went to -4. And then we didn't go up and down. We stayed on the x-axis. So we're at 0. Our y value is at 0. S, we went to +3 and -4. T, we went to +6 and +5. And U, we went to -1 and up to 4. All right, moving on. So we have a bunch of definitions. Relation is just a group of ordered pairs. All right. A relation is a group of ordered pairs. A function is a relation that does not have an x repeat. All right. Does not have an x value repeat. All functions are relations, but not all relations are functions. Discrete, individual points. We often refer to those as dots. So today we're going to work on discrete functions where we have individual points. Continuous are connected. All right, so continuous is connected, but we're not going to do those today. And they're connected by a point, connected by a line. Domain is all the x values, and range is all the y values. So, does the graph represent a function? Well, to be a function, x cannot repeat. So we're just going to make a little t-chart of all of our points. So our first point is at -6, -6. Our next point is at -5, 7. Our next point is -2, -1. Our next point is a +4, -2. And our next point is at +6, +3. So when I look at this, I go, hey, you know what? None of the x values repeat. No x repeats. It is a function. All right. The next thing to ask for is the domain. Well, domain is all the x's. Well, that's easy. I just need to make a list of all the x values. In this case, the x's are -6, -5, -2, 4, 6. And we want them in order from least to greatest. And same with the y's. So -6 is my least. Then I have -2. Then I have -1. Then I have 3. And then I have 7. Now, when we do domain and range, we want them in brackets like that. Okay? Now, there's actually an easier method than making a t-chart, although sometimes we're going to be stuck with a t-chart, and that's to use the vertical line test. The vertical line test, if I draw a vertical line and I only hit one point, it is a function. I'm only hitting one point, I'm only hitting one point, I'm only hitting one point, I'm only hitting one point. If I'd hit more than one, it would not have been a function. All right? So that's part one. Moving on. And by the way, today's a long set of notes. So the next thing wants to know, once again, does the graph represent a function? Well, I'm going to go ahead and make a list of my ordered pairs. Well, actually, I'm going to use the vertical line test. All right? The relation is not a function if a vertical line can be drawn through more than one point. It is if it can only be drawn through one point. So I draw, it's like, oh, I only hit one point, I only hit one point, I only hit one point, I hit one point, one point, one point. Uh-oh, hit 2 points. So right here, I hit 2 points on this one. So no, it is not a function. Why? +5 repeats. So we're going to write 5 repeats. It still asks me to list the domain and range, so I'm going to start off by making my t-chart so I have my domain and range. So I have -6, -5. Then I have -5, 5. Then I have -4, 0. Then I have -3, -6. Then I have 2, 2. And I have 5, 5. Doesn't matter which order we put these in. And then I also have 5, -3. And then I have 8, -1. Now, we do want these listed in order from least to greatest. And when we write the domain, we don't include repeats. So even though the 5 repeats, and this is why it's not a function because of this repeating right here, which is why we hit the vertical line test twice, we just write the 5 once. So -6, -5, -4, -3, 2, comma, 5, comma, 8. If we had y's repeat, we only repeat the y's once. Now the y's can repeat, and we can see that we have 2 5's, but the y's, it doesn't matter if the y's repeat. So our smallest x is -6. Then we have a -5. Then we have a -3. Then we have a -1. Then we have a 0. Then we have a 2. And it turns out we have 5 repeating, so we don't have to say that twice. Okay? All right. So does the graph represent a function? Justify your response. Well, if I draw the vertical line test, I hit more than one point. So the answer is no, not a function. -5 repeats. And it's the x value that repeats. So once again, we're going to make a list of our x and y's. Well, we have -5, -7, -5, -5, -5, -3, -5, -1, -5, 1, -5, 3, -5, 5, and -5, 7. So my domain is really simple. I only have to write -5. For the range, I'm going to have to list every single one of those values because they did not repeat. Once again, to be a function, x cannot repeat, but y can. All right? So let's look at one more of these. All right, when I draw the vertical line test, using the vertical line test, which is better for graphs, does the x repeat? And I'm like, no, I'm only hitting one point. So, yes, it is a function. The VLT, the vertical line test, only hits one point. All right. So let's go ahead and list our domain and range. So ordered pair are x and y, and we have -8, -2. And then we have -6, -2. And we have -4, -2. And -2, -2. And then we have 0, -2. This is tricky. We didn't go anywhere in the x direction. Then we have 2, -2, 4, -2, 6, -2, 8, -2. Now you're sitting there going, hey, the y's repeat. Yeah, the y's can repeat and still be a function, but the x's cannot. All right, so the y's can repeat, but the x's cannot. And the x's don't repeat, so it is a function. So -8, -6, -4, -2, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. All right. The range, really quick and easy, just -2. All right. So table, well, I can't use the vertical line test with a table. I just need to make a t-chart. And I go 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, it is a function. Why? X does not repeat. And the Y values are 1, 2, 2, 3. And you're sitting there going, hey, the Y's repeat. Remember, it's okay for the Y's to repeat. So my domain, my X values, because when it's asking for the domain, it's just asking for the X values, is 3, 4, 5, 6. And my Y values is 1, 2, 3, because we don't need to write repeats. All right? So next one, is it a function? All right. Well, my x's, -4, -2, 1, 2, 4. When I look at that, I don't see any x values repeating. So it is a function, 5, 6, -3, -1, -2. Yes, it is a function. X does not repeat. And when I'm listing my domain, just list the x values, -4, -2, 1, 2, 4 in brackets. And the y values, we always start with the smallest. So my smallest in this case is -3. Then it's -2. Then it's -1. Then we have a 5, 6. All right. Mappings are really easy if you'll take the time to draw a table, a T-chart. If you don't, you'll probably miss it. So please, 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 if it's a mapping, draw a T-chart. So if these are my X's and these are my Y's, and that's what, I know it's not labeled, but that's what it's supposed to be. I have a -3, 10. I have a -4, 11 ordered pair, and I have a -4, 12 ordered pair, and a -5, 13 ordered pair. But right here, I see my x's repeat. Because my x's repeat, it's not a function. No, it is not a function. Why? -4 repeats. All right? So my domain. Remember, we don't record, when we're recording the x's or the y's, we don't record duplicates. So it's just 3, -3, I got to write it from least to greatest. So -5, -4, -3. All right. The y's, 10, 11, 12, 13. And I know you're sitting there, there's more y values. Well, that's because one of the x's repeats. All right, so in this case, we have one more of these, and this will conclude our notes. We have 4, 5, 8, 5, 12, 10, 16, 15. And we notice that the 5s repeat, but it's okay for y's to repeat. So yes, it is a function. Y, no x, repeat. So my domain, 4, 8, 12, 16. We have to list them all because nothing repeated. Why? Because it was a function. Here, we have a repeat, so we don't write the repeat. We just go 5, 10, 15. And once again, we have more x's than we have y's. Why? Because the y repeated. All right, I hope this helped. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you.